Hi there, and welcome to a new episode of Literature Next, the set of videos where I make an analysis of a literature masterpiece in roughly 15 or 20 minutes. Today, we're talking about the devil. Pop culture nowadays is giving us a slightly different picture of the devil than we used to have, for example, in the 50s or in the 60s when the film The Exorcist came out, for example. Thanks to TV series like The Good Omen or Lucifer, we are now trying to get a different perspective of Satan. When, once upon a time, Satan, especially from the Catholic world, was connected to pure evil. But did you know that the first writer who gave Satan a new perspective was literally in the 17th century? Today, we're talking about Milton and his Paradise Lost. And I'm going to analyze the speech of Satan, one of the most famous extracts of the epic poem. To fully understand the strong symbolism, it is necessary to explain the historical context in which the poem was written. Milton graduated at Cambridge in 1632. And then he traveled around Europe. When he came back to England was just the period when the Civil War was going off. So what exactly happened in England in the 1640s? At the time, the throne of England was occupied by King Charles I, who was trying to make England an absolute monarchy, bypassing the parliament continuously until he didn't summon the parliament for over 10 years. When he was finally overwhelmed with debt and decided to summon the parliament again, in the 1642, the latter refused to approve his money request. As a result, King Charles broke into the parliament with the army and tried to arrest all the members of parliament. The consequences of this were disastrous, especially for him. He didn't manage to arrest all the MPs, but a civil war between the monarchic and republicans started at the time. After 4 years of war, the king is finally captured by the Scots and is brought back to London, where he is tried for high treason and is beheaded in 1649. So the French weren't exactly the first one to behead a king in Europe. England becomes at this point a sort of republic, led by Oliver Cromwell, and goes by the name of Commonwealth. Now, probably because in the 17th century Europe wasn't ready for a republic, and especially because that kind of republic was more of a dictator. With Cromwell's death in 1658 and the inability of his son to go on with the father's project, the son of King Charles I, King Charles II, is called back from the Netherlands and the monarchy is in some way restored. So the figure of the king is now less powerful than it was before. In all this historical context, Milton had been a firm supporter of Cromwell and blatantly against the king, and so he was also a supporter of the regicide. When the monarchy is restored, Milton obviously is forced to hide, and he composed Paradise Lost, filling it with all the possible allusion of the politics of England at the time. It is due to say that Milton was at the end pardoned by the monarchy, and he lived the rest of his life peacefully until his death at 65 in 1674. Paradise Lost is an epic poem describing Christian mythology. He rewrites the Bible section of the Genesis and describes the rebellion of Satan, the fall of Adam and Eve from Eden, and the creation of earth. The poem is composed by 12 books, so as you can imagine, it's almost impossible to provide a summary in a few minutes, but we will try. Respecting the tradition of epic poems, the action starts in medias res, with Satan and his devils in hell after they have been defeated by God's army. Even though they are in hell, they want to continue their revolt against God, so they decide to corrupt God's new creation, Earth. Satan leaves hell and meets his children, sin and death. and together they build a bridge from hell to earth. God predicts that Satan will corrupt humans, and the Son offers to sacrifice himself for humanity's sake. After traveling past night and chaos, Satan arrives to paradise, Eden, and wants to bring evil in it because its beauty has caused him pain and envy. Satan sees Adam and Eve, and he overhears a conversation about the commandment of not eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge. After Adam and Eve had innocent sex, Satan tries to approach Eve in the form of a toad, but God sends the archangel Gabriel to confront him, and after considering a fight, Satan flees. God sends the angel Raphael to ensure Adam and Eve's free will. Raphael tells Adam and Eve about Satan's rebellion and warns Adam that Satan will attempt to corrupt him. After 7 days, Satan returns to Eden, possesses a serpent, and approaches Eve, telling her that he had learned to speak because he had eaten the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Satan succeeds in convincing Eve, as we all know, to eat the forbidden fruit. And when she offers him to Adam, he eats it because he knows that Eve now is damned and he doesn't want to be separated from her. At this point, the two experience lust for the first time and they have sex. Not innocent sex as they had before. God sends the Son to punish the couple at this point. Eve with pain in childbirth and Adam to labor for his food. Satan gets back to hell and sends sin and death to infect the earth. After the fall, the angels rearrange the earth to make it less hospitable, and the animals are now carnivores and unfriendly. Adam and Eve resolve to have revenge on Satan by being obedient to God. Michael is sent to expel Adam and Eve from paradise, but before they leave, he shows Adam the future, up to the sacrifice of the Son, who incarnates in Jesus, to atone the fall and save humanity. So they cheerfully leave heaven with a spark of comfort and hope in their heart. Book 1 starts by stating that the main theme of the poem will be man's first disobedience. In reality, we see 3 characters disobeying God: Eve, Satan, and with less seriousness, Adam. Disobeying to God implies challenging God's hierarchy, and the first one doing this is Satan. Satan is jealous of how God honors the Son and convinces a third of the angels to rebel with him. Satan claims that they all should be honored as gods and not to be subject of God and the Son. We can't not see in Satan the portrait of every revolutionary man that had led, like Oliver Cromwell, or will lead Europe population against the absolute monarchy, such as Napoleon Bonaparte. Satan is defeated and cast to hell along with the angels that fought with him that are now devils. Instead of giving in all hope and repent, Satan looks around and pronounces his most famous speech.
Is this the region, this the soil, the clime? Said then the lost archangel. This is the seat that we must change for heaven, this mournful gloom, for that celestial light. Be it so, since he who now is sovereign can dispose and bid what shall be right. Farthest from him is best whom reason hath equalled, force hath made supreme. Above his equals, farewell happy fields, where joy forever dwells. Hail horrors, hail infernal world, and thou, profoundest hell, receive thy new possessor. One who brings a mind not to be changed by place or time. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. What matter where, if I be still the same? and what it should be, all but the less than he whom thunder hath made greater, here at least. We shall be free. The Almighty hath not built her for his envy, will not drive us hence. Here we may reign secure, and in my choice to reign is worth a mission, though in hell. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven.
Satan is able to find the positive side in the fall. He may be in hell and out of heaven, but he is free. His mind is free and cannot be manipulated by God anymore. No misery at all can blur the fact that Satan is now free from God. We perceive God and his hierarchy as something unjust and suffocating. But Satan's decision to corrupt humanity, God's last creation, to go further in disobeying God might be a signal that Satan is not really over his punishment. The second character that disobeys is Eve. Differently from Satan, who disobeys out of his own will, Eve disobeys because she is provoked, but she challenges hierarchy as much as Satan. God and the angel Raphael have been very clear with Adam. Eve is slightly farther than Adam from God because she has to serve both God and Adam. Satan manages to provoke Eve because she is alone, and she is alone because she had persuaded Adam to let her work alone. She has challenged him, her superior, and she has defied the hierarchy established by God. Ultimately, she disobeyed God by eating the fruit of knowledge, which God had explicitly forbidden. This continuous pushing on women's role in marriage as subject to their husband may be a result of the unhappy marriage that John Milton had. The third character disobeying is Adam. Essentially, Adam disobeyed because he prefers following Eve and his instincts than God. Before the fall, Adam is a creature of high intellect, but he is completely unable to keep his love for Eve under control. Milton sees men superior to women, and so is Adam to Eve. If it wasn't for Eve, Adam would probably have never disobeyed God. So again, Milton is underlying the idea that the fall is all women's fault. The idea of free will is probably the most controversial theme that divides believers and atheists. Milton's God exists outside of time, so he knows exactly what will happen from the revolt of Satan to the fall of Adam and Eve, but he never interferes in order to preserve their free will, Satan's and the humans, Adam and Eve. With the idea of a God that knows already everything that will happen, it's hard to believe in free will and not in predestination. And to be fair, Milton didn't really nail this concept. Though he, as a Protestant, didn't believe in the Calvinistic idea of predestination, his poem seems to tend more in that direction than in the other. On the other hand, when Michael shows Adam the future before they leave Eden with the sacrifice of Jesus to save humankind, Adam is relieved. It's like that with the ultimate sacrifice of the Son, incarnated in Jesus, God brings more good out of his creation. Humans will always have the chance to redeem themselves by repenting and obeying to God. After the fall, humans will have to experience death and pain, but now they can also experience mercy. Something that wasn't supposed to be needed in Eden. If we see the poem with this perspective, Adam and Eve's free will, but even Satan's, is not connected to predestination. God knew what was going to happen and allowed it, in order to bring more good out of it. and thought humanity is now condemned to live out of Eden, the possibility to experience mercy from God and to see love and compassion through the Son's sacrifice is what makes the fall something good and partly fortunate. After all, the poem ends on a note of hope and happiness. Humanity is not doomed forever. There is nothing so bad that is not good for something. Paradise Lost is one of the most unique masterpieces of English literature. It has no equals, though it's not the only epic poem in English literature. Milton finished it completely blind. He had to dictate the words to his daughter to finish it. What probably leaves us in the most dismay is that though Milton believed so much in rebellion and revolt and gave Satan a whole new perspective that pop culture uses it as much as nowadays, the poem resolves anyway in a full obedience to God. With Satan doomed forever, we don't know if this is because he didn't want to risk royalty to go against him, or because the topic is pretty clear. He couldn't have Adam and Eve going deliberately against God. That would have been rewriting religion, and he was absolutely a convinced Protestant. What definitely Milton has given to us is a new perspective of the figure of Satan and the devil, and a glimpse of how mentality was finally changing at the time. The age of enlightenment and the era of revolution were not yet to come, and it would come 2 centuries later. But Milton left us the proof that the spark of revolution was already in the heart of the population. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, please give us a like. If you want to see more videos about literature, you can always subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you will be updated anytime that I release a new literature video. In the description, this time I am leaving also a link with a downloadable PDF with the text of the Satan speech and a complete analysis. Please let me know if the link works. You can comment below, yes the link works, or no it doesn't work, because it's the first time that I do this. If you want to follow us on social media, this is our Facebook page. This is our Instagram page. This is our email address. You can write us at any time. We are a language school. We teach English, French, Italian to foreigners, Spanish and German. We deliver courses online and in presence, and we teach adults and teenagers. So thank you very much for staying with us, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye!